Hello, and welcome to the premiere episode of Father Chopper Allen's Saint of the Week. I'd like to use this program to focus on a particular saint during the week and to examine how these saints, long past, can affect us in the here and now, even today, and help us in getting closer to God. And the saints I want to talk about today are ones that Pope Francis has recently declared to be saints without the need for a miracle, which was fairly unusual. And those are the 16 Martyrs of Compiegne. Now, the Martyrs of Compiegne were French Carmelite nuns who, during the Reign of Terror, the French Revolution, when religious orders were disbanded, continued, in direct defiance of the government, continued their communal life of prayer and penance. And when we think of the Revolution, we tend to think of the storming of the Bastille, the overthrowing of royal tyranny, the Declaration of the Rights of Man, La Marseillaise, which is the French national anthem today. But most people, and certainly a lot of French society, fail to appreciate that the Revolution has quite a few dark chapters in their history. And one of them was how the leaders of the revolution dealt with members of the church. The problem is that the church in France, before the revolution, was seen as a blind supporter of the monarchy. It was seen as very much as an institution of the monarchy. And what the revolutionary leaders wanted to transform French society into was one of laïcité, which is an extreme form of secularism. So with that in mind, when the revolutionary authorities took over, they removed all the religious items in the Cathedral of Notre Dame and turned it into a temple of reason. And they made priests and other religious leaders swear an oath of loyalty to the national government in Paris. Now, all of this came to a head between September 1793 and September 1794, which is known in history as the Reign of Terror. Priests and religious orders, as I said, were required to sign a document swearing that their first loyalty was to the revolutionary government, not Christ, not to the Pope, and certainly not to his church. Most priests and religious leaders refused to sign the document. And the nuns of Compiegne were clearly one of them. There was an interesting story that the mayor of Compiegne, when the religious sisters were being pressured to sign the document, the mayor just presented them with a blank piece of paper and said, sign here, this will get you out of trouble. And they did that. And what the mayor did was they copied the oath of loyalty to the French government onto the blank sheet of paper. When the nuns found out about this, when they were in prison for continuing their religious life, they were so outraged, they actually wrote letters formally renouncing their signing of the documents and said, give us ink in which to sign this, or we'll sign it in our own blood if necessary. The government ordered the religious sisters, or all religious orders in fact, disbanded. But the nuns decided to continue in open defiance their life of prayer and penitence. They were eventually discovered, charged with treason, and at their trial they used as evidence against them the fact that they had images of the Sacred Heart of Jesus. Now this was important here because, contrary to popular belief, the revolution was not popular throughout all of France. In a particular area of France called the Vendée, There was an open rebellion against the revolutionary government. And what these people had as their symbol of resistance to the French revolutionary authorities was the Sacred Heart of Jesus, which they pinned onto their chests. And when the revolutionary authorities broke into the residence of these sisters and they found images of the Sacred Heart of Jesus, they used that as evidence against them to say, see, they're guilty of treason. They're guilty of treason. To no one's great surprise, they were found guilty and sent to the guillotine in the center of Paris on July 17, 1794. It's where the modern Place de Concorde stands today. And normally, we've all seen it in the films, the condemned would be brought out with these baying revolutionary mobs demanding their blood. But this execution would be very different. The mob were literally stunned into silence by the appearance of the sisters, who, even though all of their religious garments had been removed, they bore themselves, someone said, with a dignity that was described by an onlooker as akin to a bride presenting herself for marriage. And the silence was only broken when the sisters started chanting the hymn of Veni Creator Spiritus. And one by one, the sisters made their way to the guillotine, the youngest to the oldest. And each sister paused before the Mother Superior and asked her, "Permission to die, Mother?" To which the Mother Superior responded, "Go, my daughter." The state had ordered their deaths, but their final act of obedience was not to the state, but to their mother in their religious life. The Mother Superior was the last one to be killed. This was a turning point, because the Paris mob realized that if a group of religious sisters whose only crime was living their communal life the way they have had for thousands of years, if those sisters weren't safe, then nobody was safe from the government of the Revolutionary Terror. And on 8 Thermidor in year 2, or July 26, 1794, for the rest of us, 9 days after the execution took place, the government fell. Maximilien Robespierre, the architect of the terror, was himself arrested, and himself, along with his ministers, were guillotined as well. This is seen as the end of not only the terror, but the French Revolution, and the beginning of the restoration of the church in France. So what can we learn about these events from these heroic sisters? The first question, in fact really the only question we have to ask ourselves is, who do we owe our ultimate loyalty to? To a state? To a leader? To an ideology? To a political party? To a particular institution of the state? Or do we owe our ultimate loyalty, who we would literally give our lives to God and to God alone? That, brothers and sisters, is the question we all have to answer. Martyrs of Compiegne, pray for us. And God bless you.
Thanks for watching. Remember to like this video, and to hear more interesting homilies proclaiming the truth of the gospel of Christ, subscribe to my YouTube channel. You can contact me directly, the information is down below, and you can also visit me on my Twitter account, which you can visit as well. The information I'll also leave below as well. Thank you, and God bless.